Welcome to Behind the Lens. Today, the great playwright, director, screenwriter, you do it all, Martin McDonagh.
Hi, Pete.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming out here, and congratulations on 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, which now has 7 Academy Award nominations, a zillion BAFTA nominations as well.
It is a zillion, yeah.
You're a Golden Globe winner. I mean, did you imagine that when you were writing this, that this would have this kind of reaction?
Not at all. And even after we made it, and it was finished about a year ago, so I've been kind of waiting even till like November till it was seen by anyone. We were happy with it, and we knew it was a good one, and we knew the performances, of course, were fantastic. But we thought it could have easily just slipped in and out and as like another indie film that no one really sees. Partly because I was thinking the subject matter might be a bit too dark for people. But I think it's both the comedy, but mostly Frances I think audiences have just latched onto her, and she's just such a breath of fresh air, I think. She's so outrageous and fierce. And somehow I think it's sort of tapped into the whole Zeitgeist thing, you know, everything that's been going on in Hollywood and outside of it with the Me Too and Time's Up. I think it's just a perfect time for a woman as strong as Frances's characterization of Mildred to come out.
That's exactly what it's tapped into, and you couldn't have figured that out when you were writing it, that it would be opening at a time when she'd suddenly be almost a symbol of the movement that's going on, that character.
No, exactly. I mean, the script itself was written about 8 years ago, and I kind of put it aside. And I was kind of determined, because my first 2 films were very kind of male-centric, I was determined that this one would have a very strong female lead. And my early plays had that, so it didn't feel like completely new territory to me.
But it was in movies, though, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, the movies were very kind of guy-centric. But I was determined that this would be the opposite of that. And when you cast Frances, you know that's what you're going to get. You're going to get someone who's full of integrity and doesn't, you know, take the easy route and doesn't. We talked a lot about not making her lovable, not giving the audience any kind of leeway. I mean, there's a couple of scenes where we do see what's behind the rage and the pain. I guess we always see where the pain is coming from. But there's a couple of pockets of tenderness, but we didn't want to milk that. We didn't want to give the audience, you know, too much of that at all.
Was there a scene you moved around from the original idea, to do that?
Yeah, the scene where she has the flashback, an argument with her daughter, and the daughter storms off, and the final words to her daughter, that did come very near the end originally in the script, and in the first sort of versions of the cut. But John Gregory, my brilliant editor, he tried it much earlier. It comes sort of bang in the middle of the film, I think. And it kind of really gives you a sense of where a lot of that pain is coming from, that she'll never be able to take those words back. But also to have a sense of the daughter, a sense of who was lost and what the fight is all about.
And you wrote this for Frances, is that right? I talk to a lot of writers who say, oh, I don't write for anybody, I just write it and then whatever. And sometimes it seems risky if you're writing it for somebody and they don't want to do it.
Exactly. Very, very risky. But yeah, no, written for Frances, written for Sam Rockwell as well, this part too. But especially with Frances's part, I still don't know where we'd have gone to if she'd have said no. It would have been a completely different character and a completely different film. But I literally didn't have a second choice. Didn't
she ask you years ago if you would write something for her when you met her?
She did. And you don't say no when Frances says that. But it was a no-brainer, because I was, like, since I saw Blood Simple when I was like 14 or 15, I've loved her, and of course, all the work she's done with the Coens, but especially Fargo confirmed all that, and everything she's done since. But Fargo is like 20 years ago, and she hasn't really had a proper lead in a movie since then, which is ridiculous.
That's sort of astounding to think about that.
Amazing. Yeah. And I hope, you know, that with everything that's going on, that kind of thing will change, that won't be allowed to happen, that someone as great as her, and as great as all the other actresses around, but especially of that age group, won't be just left to smaller parts. In good films, admittedly, they should be, you know, given leads, because, you know, Hollywood likes films that make money, and these films are all making money. You know, Lady Bird is the same, with a younger woman in the lead. This one, Shape of Water, you know, this year is some great female-led movies, and they're great box office movies too. So I hope things will change because of that a bit.
Yeah, I loved her speech when she won the SAG award, and she said, you know, but don't forget the younger ones that want a doorstop also.
Yeah, it's both encouraging and kind of disrespectful at the same time, and I love that.
Exactly, as only she can do and pull off.
Exactly. I can't wait to hear what she says at the Oscars. Fingers crossed.
Gosh, fingers crossed. Yes, as well as you have Sam Rockwell and Woody Harrelson, who were both in Seven Psychopaths.
Yeah.
You just have this whole group going where you keep bringing back the same act, like a rep company.
Yeah,
almost.
exactly. That's exactly what it is. I guess they do that in theatre a lot, but they used to do that in movies in the olden days too. Like Preston Sturges would have his little repertory company. I think Sam Peckinpah would always have a lot of the same people. Even you know, a lot of the movie brats, you know, Scorsese and Coppola, they used the same group over and over again. I think that's a great thing, because it allows an actor, well, one, to be completely comfortable with you and you with them.
Right. You
know, you're not turning up to a stranger the first day of work, but it allows them to show different colors. You know, if you know that they're a good actor, you'll not just put them in the box of this is what Woody usually does or this is what Sam usually does. You can do, you know, this part is completely the opposite to Woody's part in Seven Psychos, for instance. It's a much gentler, empathetic, decent sort of man. Conversely, Sam's part is none of those things, and he was a bit more of the hero in Seven Psychos, but he's definitely sort of the villain of the piece in this.
I know you travel around America. You like to get on a bus or go in a car or drive around. That's where you actually found the germ of this idea, right?
Yeah. I was on a bus through, it was either Alabama or Mississippi or Texas, I think. I'm not sure exactly where it was, but although I've been reading online, you know, pieces that suggest I think it might be more Texas than the other two. And I saw something very similar to what we see on our billboards, a message of sort of rage and pain. And but the bus went by, and that image stayed in my head for like 10 years or so, but it kept gnawing away. And I thought there's, you know, where does that pain come from, or what are those people doing now? And once I sort of decided to make it a mother, and a very strong mother, who'd put those billboards up, it was almost like the film wrote itself. Certainly the character sprung off the page, fully formed.
Does it have to write itself? I mean, you know, you write so many plays. You have one that just opened in New York and is going to Broadway now, you're telling me, too, right?
Yeah, Hangman just opened a couple of days ago, and fingers crossed should be going to Broadway in April, I think.
Wow.
If we can. Yeah, so that's good. But I think when the writing is good, it does feel like it's coming from another place, and you're kind of keeping up with what these characters are saying and what they're doing next. But I never plot anything out beforehand, you know, so this literally was just this idea of Mildred's character and the image of the billboards and nothing else. So I just jumped in and tried to discover what the police would say in reaction to that and what she would do, and that's what the film is. And I think that's why it's a film that has lots of twists and turns. It's because they're not set up as twists and turns, because I didn't know what was going to happen from scene to scene myself.
You got something to say to me?
If I'd known, we could have double dated.
Doesn't shit girl have a curfew weeknights?
No. No, in fact, I was actually going to take her to the circus later, but there's no need now. Does he juggle?
Look, I'm having one dinner with the guy because he did me a favor, okay?
You don't have to explain yourself to me because you're having dinner with a midget, Mildred.
I'm not explaining myself to you.
You kind of are.
You know, it's interesting. It was nominated in the won Best Picture Drama at the Golden Globes. Then I was at the Ace Eddie Awards, where it was nominated for comedy editing in the comedy category.
Oh, really?
Which is interesting to me because obviously even people that do these awards things can't quite define it. Can you? What would you call it?
I think it leans towards the drama more than the comedy. I think there's a lot of big laughs in it, but I think, especially because of the subject matter and you know, where Francis's character is coming from, I think it's more on the heavy side and the sadder side than an outright comedy.
I got to ask you about the difference between playwriting and screenwriting, and what is in your heart here. Would you prefer just to write movies, or is playwriting something that is just that difficult process for you, but you got to do it?
No, they're kind of two completely separate muscle groups almost. But the thing with the play, and they both have their pros and cons. There's a lot less of the outside industry pressure on a play. You know, you don't have to do all of this kind of stuff. For instance, you don't have to sell it too much. You know, it's its own small thing, and if you get it right and the review comes in, you can just leave it and not even promote it at all. But once it's finished, it's gone forever. And once a film is finished, you know, in 10 years, we can look at In Bruges and say that's still what it is and it won't ever change.
Right.
And there's something lovely about that, that you'll change and grow and whatever else, but that piece will stay pristine. But I can't show you, you know, a play that I got right 20 years ago because it's gone forever. And there's a sadness to that, I think.
I have to ask you about this whole awards thing that you're on. I mean, you're running back and forth between New York, you know, where you had your play, and another play coming up in London in the fall, and then this whole movie thing, this whole movie season. And we saw you earlier, I saw you earlier this year, and you said something surprising me. I really like it, you know.
Well, I was speaking to my friend earlier. It's much nicer to have it go this way than the previous ways it's gone. You know, you know, even with all the debate and controversy about whose is the best film and all that.
Right.
It's nicer to be in the argument than not. And it's been good being able to go back and forth to the play, because it feels like I've got something kind of real to latch onto, and then come back to this, which is a bit more hyper real. And but it's still fun. You know, I was at the DGA Awards the other day, and as much as you can kind of get caught up in your own head in the competition of all this,
right,
when you actually meet, you know, Christopher and Greta and Jordan and Guillermo, you just fall in love with them, and you just want to hear their take on filmmaking. And I like all their films anyway,
right.
But it kind of takes the competition part out of it, because you kind of go, well, I like you, and I don't mind if you win. It's gonna be okay. I think if there were, you know, films that you didn't like in the mix, then you might be kind of a bit weirder about that. But this year's a great year for films, I think. So.
But you're okay with. I was shocked, by the way. I will tell you that you're nominated for Oscars for writing and producing and Best Picture. I mean, you can't ask for more, but I was really kind of stunned that you weren't nominated for the Oscar for Best Directing. Did that bother you? Or because you've been nominated for every other possible award for directing.
It was a funny morning, because we got, I think, more than we ever expected to, because John Gregory, my lovely editor, got nominated, and Carter Burwell for his fantastic score. Woody got nominated, and we weren't 100% sure that he'd get in, as well. We kind of assumed Sam and Fran would, and in for Best Picture too. So we got way more. My friends got way more attention, and kind of I was having a jog, a little grumpily along the East River in New York, kind of thinking, oh, director didn't get that.
Yeah.
But my friends all did, and we'll all go together. So that's kind of a lovely thing.
Which is, you know, and you can't, to get nominated for writing, I wonder what means more for you as obviously a writer, your first thing that you do, and you've been nominated, you've been down that path before at the Oscars. And in fact, people may be surprised to know you're already an Academy Award winner.
Yeah, I made a short film that got one called Six Shooter about 12 years ago, I guess. So I've kind of been in through that scary process before. I don't know, like getting the Best Picture nom was really lovely, because it feels like it's one for the team and me as director, and, you know, everyone involved. So the director snub, as they say, wasn't as painful as it could have been.
No, you know, and you're up, obviously, British Academy Award and everything else. It's just an incredible ride, you know, and to see the stuff that you do, it is so. I always wait for the next one because I never know where your stuff's going. You know,
Okay,
it's
good.
very unpredictable. And the only thing I'm upset is that you say you can't. You wait for 4 years for another movie or something.
Yeah,
Do you have one in your head that you think you're going to do in 4 years, or?
I've got one script that's sort of already written, but it's not quite in the same league as this. So I kind of want to write another couple and pick the best of those three by the time I come around to do another one. But it's definitely not going to be for another 2 or 3 years.
Wow.
Maybe a 3-year gap between films. I'm getting a little better.
Well, I can't wait. So thank you so much for coming in here, Martin.
Thank you, Pete, for having me.